Thank you so very much, Ghislaine. And I'm going to, Ghislaine, I'm going to come back to you in just a minute. Thank you to everyone for being here this evening. As I often say, you have many places that you could be on a Thursday evening, and don't think for a minute that we aren't truly appreciative. All of us as MLAs, as candidates, volunteers, those involved in the Saskatchewan Party, thank you so very much for choosing to come and spend your Thursday evening with us. Thank you to the sponsors. All of the sponsors that are involved, many of them multiple years and multiple events, thank you. It's part of the political process to raise money by being at an event like this, by sponsoring an event like this. And I want to say thank you on behalf of all of the members of the party. Welcome. Absolutely. Welcome to all those distinguished guests that have joined us this evening. Former Premier Devine and your wife, Chantel, welcome. All of my colleagues that I have had the opportunity to serve with. And I maybe wanted to make a comment about the three people that are involved here this evening with Ken and John and Ghislaine. Ken, after the next election, would potentially be, and I won't assume any of us are going to win, but I would say that Ken would be, if he does, and we hope a lot of us do, with your help, he would be one of the few people in the Legislative Assembly that serves with the Saskatchewan Party that also served in opposition. He has been around and he's been a very steady voice within our caucus, within our cabinet, within your government for 2 decades now, over 2 decades. So thank you, Ken. Not only for your service, thank you for emceeing this evening. And I think that shows the steadiness that this party has as we look forward to the next election and look forward to the 4 years beyond the next election. Also this evening, we had John and Ghislaine up here, new candidates in this particular election. And we have a number of new candidates, as we have some people that have chosen not to run again, as they have served, some of them for in excess of 20 and 25 years. And so our party is undergoing, and not a lot more renewal than we did in 2011 or 16, but this renewal that I see in the new candidates that we have running in constituency after constituency across this province gets me very, very excited as I look towards this fall, and I trust and I think that our success is going to be great this fall with your support. And the new candidates that I have met, and it's virtually all of them, makes me very, very excited for the future of our province and what the next 4 years can look in Saskatchewan. And so I want to say a special thank you to each of them. And through you to your families. My colleagues, MLAs, have heard me say this many times in Regina. People don't serve as an MLA for their constituency alone. They only serve with the love and support of their family. And so to all of you that are running in this election, through you, I want to say from me, personally, a very special thank you to your family for giving you that love and support to serve the constituents in your constituency. It's great for me to be here with you tonight. If we could all practice just one little saying, and it's "Go Oilers, go." I've waited a long time for this. And actually, we could even narrow it down to maybe just one player. Go Skinner, go. If we got a goalie, we win. But anyway, it's an exciting series, and I expect they'll win tonight, and it'll be an even more exciting NHL final. And it's been quite a fall, actually. I was watching NHL on the television. I was watching either Moose Jaw or the WHL playoffs. It was Moose Jaw. What playoffs we had coming through Swift Current, and the Blades series was unbelievable. I think 6 overtime periods, and so that was on the iPad. And on alternating nights, you had the SJHL. And so we were very fortunate this spring with the playoff hockey that we had, and that's how I spent my evenings, fortunately. It is great it's a real honor for me to join you here this evening in what will be the last Saskatchewan Party Leaders Dinner that we'll have before this election. And as you're aware, we're just a few short months away from that said election. And so what I want to talk about tonight are the choices that we have before us, and I'll maybe compare a little bit to the choices that we've made over the last number of elections. We're vying to be a 5th-term government. You're seeing Around this world, across this nation, the winds of change, they're blowing pretty hard. We're seeing some fairly significant changes throughout the European Union. Who knows what will happen south of the border? We're seeing the winds of change blow pretty hard nationally here in Canada, and there's 3 Canadian provincial elections that will occur this year: BC, Saskatchewan, and New Brunswick. I saw all of those current premiers this past week. Vying for a 5th-term government is likely going to be one of the toughest roads that this party, your party, the Saskatchewan party, has ventured on. Only 2 other times in the history of the province has there been a party that has served 5 consecutive terms. One of them was the original Walter Scott government. And the second one, it took 2 premiers, but it was the Tommy Douglas Woodrow Lloyd government. If we are able to find our way to this 5th term, by the end of it, we will have served a longer consecutive period of time than the Douglas Lloyd government, and it'll be down just us and Walter Scott at that point in time. But it won't be easy, and you are going to see your candidate on your doorstep very shortly in the weeks and the months ahead. And I would ask you that if you have some time to join them, because many hands certainly make for light work. And then that leads me to the choices that we have made and the choices that we are going to make this fall as a province, as people that live in communities from corner to corner in this province. You all have a choice to make. Each of us will have a choice to make as to what we want our province of Saskatchewan to look like, at least for the next 4 years, and setting it up for some period of time after that. When we look out today, we are facing challenges. We got community challenges. We have challenges in whatever industry that we're employed in or work in. We're seeing challenges at the provincial level, challenges at the federal level. We see global challenges that are affecting supply chains, and we're a global province in what we do, and those supply chain challenges or opportunities, they have an impact on us. And I would say that yes, there are many challenges that are before us, but in those challenges are opportunities, and so we welcome them, bring them on, and we will be able to get through them with the Saskatchewan common sense that we have. And I'm telling you, at least I like to think we have that right through to your governing caucus. So that is the opportunity that we have in light of these challenges. But there is an alternative, and we've seen that alternative at work in this province in the years gone by, and that alternative ultimately is not a growth-focused government, but that alternative is a government that ultimately puts us into a state of decline. We saw that happen for over a decade and a half through the 90s. We saw a massive population decline in our communities. We saw our kids leaving for other provinces to build their lives. We saw the decline of private sector investment into the industries that we are working in and into the communities where that investment could land. And then we ultimately saw fewer taxpayers to pay for the services that you expect your provincial government to be investing in. We saw personal income taxes in 2007 that were higher than they are today. But that is no longer the case, because each of you in this room and many, many others across this province made a choice on November the 7th of 2007. You made a choice to make a change and to give a growth-focused government a chance. A couple of parties that had joined to unite the right, and I'll speak a little bit more about that later, to unite that center-right vote, that free market-oriented vote, the majority of the vote in this province for many, many years. And in order for this growth to continue into the years ahead, in order for us to have the opportunity for people to continue to move here, or our children and their friends, that generation to make the choice to stay here, to build their lives and raise their family, to keep seeing the incredible investments that we see being made here because of you, because of the faith in our communities, but more importantly, because of the faith in the people that are living in those communities. I would say we just need one thing: certainty. Certainty is what the world is searching for today. We are living in a very uncertain world. But certainty comes with having a government in place that values investing in people. Certainty is not just about the capital investment that is coming into our communities. It's about the government investment in the very services that you expect your government to be investing in and providing through the public service that we have. And I would say that it's an honor for us, each of us as MLAs, to serve as your government. We've been humbled, as I said, to be elected at 4 different times. And I want to say thank you for placing your trust in us. We know that you work hard, and we remain tremendously humbled that you entrust us with your hard-earned tax dollars to make decisions around where those tax dollars are invested. And you saw those investments in the most recent budget that was just released and voted on here in the last couple of months, the budget that was titled Classrooms, Care, and Communities. And that's the focus of the investments that this government, your government, is making. We're ensuring that there is certainty in our classrooms by delivering historic investments into that space. We in this province have the highest per capita investment in education of any province across Canada. What that means is that each of us are investing more into our education system in Saskatchewan than they are in Manitoba, Alberta, British Columbia, or any other province or territory. And that matters. This year alone, the investment increase into our education operational budget was just under 9%. That's funding that is going to help our students, which also I would say are our children and grandchildren, but it's also going to help our educators that are in those very classrooms to achieve the success and provide the opportunity for our students, our children, to achieve all that they can be. There's historic investments that have been made into capital projects. 102 projects have been invested or built here in the province in the last 17 years. 28 of them are under construction or planning as we speak. 11 were announced just in this last year's budget. 65 of them are new schools. 32 of them are significant renovations that have happened in our schools across the province. 18 of those new schools are right here in the city of Saskatoon. And that includes a school on the east side that is being planned and will be built, a Homewood School. Ken Cheveldayoff knows this conversation well. As we see a population growth on the east side of this province, it's a school that will have the largest student population of any school ever in the history of Saskatchewan. Its projected capacity is about 3,000 students. That's the growth that we're seeing in this province today. But I would also say that none of that is possible without a growing, vibrant economy. It's only through the strength of our economy that we're able to make a 9% increase in the operational funding in our schools and have a true impact on our education sector and have a true impact on our students and our children. We are making historic investments when it comes to care in our province, as in healthcare, with an over 10% increase to the healthcare budget. That's our largest line item in the budget that we have. There's new hospitals that are being constructed in Weyburn. There's a new hospital being constructed in Prince Albert, and there's a significant renovation and addition that's happening at St. Paul's Hospital on the west side of this city. Just a few weeks ago, we announced a new urgent care center is going to be constructed here in this city. It's a unique partnership with the Takakuk Cree Nation. It is going to meet the needs of people that, let's say, have fallen ill or have an illness of some type, and they aren't able to wait 8 to 10 days to see their medical health practitioner, whether that's a nurse practitioner or a physician, but they don't really require an emergency room. They require urgent care in the next day or two, not in 8 to 10 days, but they don't need it right now. And they are going to be able to attend at that urgent care center that'll be open 24 hours, 7 days a week. This center, that's about 70% of the footprint in this center. And you will see, if you're in Regina, you'll see one that's already constructed there. It's going to be open shortly. We're going to mirror that in Saskatoon, and if we need more, we'll look at that. But this center is also going to have about 30% of the footprint that is going to be focused on mental health care, and all too often those to service and to provide supports for those in our community and sometimes our family that maybe have entered a life of addictions. We need to do a much better job at accessing our mental health care supports and our addiction supports. We need to ensure that we have patients that can have the care when they need it. And in order to ensure that those urgent care centers and those facilities have people that are working in them, we introduced 2 years ago the most ambitious health human resource plan in the nation, and it's starting to see results. This is important stuff. I've said here before, over the last decade and a half, we've added 1,000 physicians into our our Saskatchewan Health Authority workforce, servicing communities across the province. Over 5,000 nurses are offering services in communities across the province. We're actively working and recruiting additional people. We're training and have opened up the training seats, actually doubled the number of training seats that are available. There's doctors, there's nurse practitioners, there's respiratory therapists, there's lab techs. The list goes on and on and on as to what and where the SHA is focused on their health human resource plan. But just this last year, since December 2022, so just over a year, what we have achieved. About 1,100 Canadian trained nurses have been hired by the SHA. We're also looking at abroad and making it easier for foreign trained nurses to come in and offer services in our communities. There's been 400 offers that have been made to healthcare professionals in the Philippines. 225 of them are currently here. I think it's a little higher than that. And 135 of them are actually working in our Saskatchewan healthcare facilities. The majority of those are nurses, but there's lab techs and a number of other disciplines as well. And this is how we invest, through the strength of our economy, to ensure that you, wherever you live in this province, will have access to health care. You'll have access to health care in or near the community where you live. These investments are about people. They most certainly are about people. They're not about press releases. They're not about news stories that you'll see on the evening news. And I would just say again, if without the strength of our Saskatchewan economy, which is the strongest in the nation today, there is no way for us to make these types of investments in people, capital investments in your community and mine. They're investments that allow people to lead healthier lives. They're investments that look for new and innovative ways for this to happen, like investing in an urgent care center, first of its kind across Canada with the mental health and addictions intake. To invest to have a healthier community, healthier family, healthier province. To help people that may be reaching out to seek help. That one thing we're going to talk about a lot more in the years ahead, even are today than the years gone by, is how are we addressing and providing care for those that may be having a mental health crisis and, as I say, all too often have entered a life of addictions. This is a significant focus, not only for our government, to the point that we appointed a minister that specifically works on this, but all governments across the nation. And I would just say this, when it comes to the drugs that are in our community, it's not going to be our focus to provide an environment that makes using drugs easier. There is no such thing as the safe use of illicit drugs. What we truly believe and what we are doing is providing opportunities for recovery, for individuals to access recovery. We have introduced what is called a recovery-oriented system of care. It's called ROSC, R-O-S-C, and it really has two areas of focus. One is to increase the capacity of the intensive recovery beds that we have, increase the capacity of the mental health supports that we have. You have all heard that we had a target of 150 intensive recovery beds. We achieved that target. We've now reset that target to 500, and I dare say we'll achieve that in a not too distant future, and we'll likely have to set another target, unfortunately. So the second focus is about access, and I talked earlier about the urgent care centers providing that access point, but we need to have a healthcare system that is going to meet people where they are, when they need it, but not leave them there, and to provide the supports that they need. We don't want to in any way facilitate harm to any of our community members, our friends, and all too often our family members. What we want to do is to facilitate an opportunity for recoveries for those that are struggling with addictions or may be struggling with addictions in the future. We want to invest in people that are facing those challenges. And again, I say this is only possible, and this is nation leading, this is only possible through the strength of the Saskatchewan economy. We continue to invest in our communities, invest heavily in record amounts in our communities, and it's tied to this recovery-oriented system of care. We have increased, and I would say we need to further increase the funding for our law enforcement agencies in our communities. We have increased the funding for RCMP, for our municipal police forces, and a number of specialized forces within both of those, and we've created the Saskatchewan Marshal Service. Why we are doing this, and I would say we need to continue to do this, is we need to get the drugs out of the hands of the drug dealers, and then we need to get the drug dealers out of our communities. The drugs that we are dealing with are poison today. . And so we have more work to do when it comes to ensuring that our communities are safe. And we need to stand beside our towns, our villages, our cities, our rural municipalities, all of the people that live in Saskatchewan, so that we can work together, using the strength of the economy that we have, that you have built, so that we can ensure that our communities are safer. So that we can ensure that through our municipal revenue sharing program that received a 14% increase this year, that we can continue to build our communities and support our municipalities in the growth challenges that they're facing, and I would say facing very courageously. We are meeting the challenges of growth, whether that be at the municipal level, the provincial level, or whether it be working together with other provincial jurisdictions, which is where I was this past week, to meet the challenges at the national level. And we were doing all that we can to provide that very certainty. That certainty in our education funding, that certainty in our healthcare investment, and that certainty in investing right back into the communities where each of us live. And I mentioned this earlier. October 28th, to be exact, each of us will have a choice. And that choice can be all about certainty. Providing certainty for investment to flow here, providing certainty for our classroom investment, healthcare investment. But there is another side to that choice, and it's uncertainty. It's called the NDP. Now, you'll hear me talk about the NDP from years ago, and they complain all the time. They said, well, that was 16, 17, 18 years ago. And I do, and our MLAs do. We remind them of their record, because it is their record. It's not very good. They don't want to talk about it, and I can hardly blame them for that, because I certainly wouldn't want to talk about it either. So let's just set that all aside for a moment, and let's look what they're offering to you and to your neighbors and to the people that live in your community and across this province today. Earlier this year, their economy critic reposted on social media a list of NDP initiatives that she was very proud of, including one of them, which was nationalization of our potash industry. Their new term for that is passive ownership. They're very proud of what was nationalizing an industry, but today would be known as passive ownership. They've done it before, they'd do it again. The NDP's industrial policy is quite simply this. First, they regulate. You see this happening federally, by the way, today. First, they regulate it. Environmental and financial regulations, whatever they can do, they regulate it. If the industry survives, then they tax it. And if the industry survives all of that, they actually nationalize it or they kill it, one or the other. That's the NDP industrial policy, and that's what we see happening in slow motion federally today. We know our NDP counterparts across the way, they have no value at all for the oil and gas industry. They voted against pipelines, both of the pipelines that were potentially being built in Western Canada and across Canada. We had the NDP member for Regina Elphinstone who said actually this, and I quote, well, I mostly quote because it gets profane, the tar sands are a bleeping nightmare. The NDP for Saskatoon, Nutana went on and said that things are going nowhere while oil still dominates the economy. I don't need to go 17 years back. I can just go right to today. Things are going nowhere while oil still dominates the economy. That same NDP from Saskatoon, NDP MLA from Saskatoon here went on to say, and I quote, and this one's bothersome, "There is nothing to be proud of here." I don't know if she means your community, our community of Saskatoon, or our province of Saskatchewan, or our nation of Canada, but I believe there's a whole lot to be proud of in each of those areas of this great nation. It's absolutely stunning. There's nothing to be proud of here. The fact is today is the NDP is less of a political party and they're more of a collection of environmental activists, social justice activists, and labor activists that come together under one name. And if ever given the chance, they would sow the seeds of uncertainty, whether it be in government investment in the services that we desire and expect, or whether it be in the opportunity to attract that investment that is allowing us to invest in our children and that next generation. Federally, we see a government, a minority administration that's propped up by these same fellows that is openly attacking many of the great revenue generators that we have in this province and I would say across the nation by extension. And that's our natural resource industry and the development of our natural resource industry, whether it be the potash industry that we have, of which is the largest in the world, the uranium industry of which we have, which is now expanding into the nuclear space, that employs so many people throughout northern and remote parts of this province, the developing lithium industry, the helium industry, the oil and gas industry, the agriculture industry, the agri-value added industry, the manufacturing, I can go on and on and on. Despite the federal government's attempts to put up roadblocks to the success that we are experiencing here in Saskatchewan and its nation-leading economic success, Saskatchewan remains the most attractive jurisdiction to invest in if you're an oil and gas company. It remains the most attractive investment opportunity for a mining company. In fact, when it comes to the mining industry, Saskatchewan ranks number 3 globally. Number 3 globally, and that's despite our federal government's regulations that we have. And it's because of what the discussions that our MLAs, your government MLAs, have with you and other people that are working in these industries across the province. We score that high because we have sensible provincial regulations when it comes to labor, when it comes to taxation, infrastructure investment, when it comes to security, and I would say most importantly, this is a government that is accessible and will continue to listen to you to ensure that we don't get it right every time, but we're going to try to get it right as many times as we can, and if we have to change it, we'll change it until we do. That's certainty. That's how you provide certainty. And I would say nationally that we're seeing some of that certainty turn into uncertainty with the minority administration that we have there. We have a government that over and over again introduces policies and regulations that unfairly target industries that are creating wealth for Canadians, industries that are creating a lot of wealth in this community, in this province, wealth for families, employing people in our communities. And I would say that they are in turn attacking some of the most sustainable industries on earth. They have regulations that are coming in, like the clean electricity regulations, the clean fuel standards, fertilizer reduction regulation. Why would you reduce fertilizer to the cleanest food that you can buy in the world? Oil and gas emissions cap. They have methane regulations that they've introduced. And of course, the annually ever increasing carbon tax that was supposed to be at 50 is on its way to 170. In fact, today, it was just, there's a news story out that the carbon tax, of which the Prime Minister, I think, said the only people negatively affected by the carbon tax are those that live in mansions and have indoor swimming pools. Today, they've been sitting on information since 2017 that the carbon tax actually, the economic impact, the impact to our national GDP of the carbon tax is $25 billion. It just came out today. They've been sitting on it since 2017. That impacts a whole lot more than people that might have a swimming pool. On that point of the carbon tax has no impact on your day-to-day life. Never mind your career and your business and your industry, but on your day-to-day life with your family. When he comes out and says it has no impact on you. I envision myself walking down the street and bumping into a farmer and telling him that. He isn't going to believe it. Tell that to a trucker. Tell that to a miner in this province and his family. Tell that to the mother of 3 that is busy filling up her SUV to take her children to hockey and to dance or maybe to school. It just isn't true. No matter how many times you say it or how loudly you say it. The Consumer Price Index, the CPI, those numbers show something quite different. The new inflation numbers show that the inflation rate in Saskatchewan is almost about a third of what the Canadian inflation rate is. We're about 1%, they're about 2.7% nationwide. One of the main reasons for this, according to StatsCan, is because the Saskatchewan government removed the carbon tax from the way that we heat our homes. The fact is this, we don't need an intrusive federal government telling us how to do things here in this province. We're actually doing them quite well without you, thank you. We have one of the cleanest energy sectors in the world, and I've said this before, but if the rest of the world produced oil like we do in this province, global emissions from oil production down 25% overnight. That's our industry, and that's the record of the Saskatchewan energy industry, and we're bringing that story to the world. We're bringing that story to the world on a province-to-nation basis because, quite frankly, the federal government just is not at this point in time. In the oil and gas industry, I was reading the local newspaper, which I don't always do, but I was reading it, and there was an article in there where there's 5,000 people employed in our oil and gas industry. That number is more like 30,000. directly, with many tens of thousands more indirectly employed in that field. And so it's hard to even read the newspapers anymore. You may recall, just in the past number of weeks, there was an NDP MP federally, Charlie Angus. He introduced a private member's bill that would jail people for promoting our oil and gas sector. Well, that bill, it's not going to pass. I don't think it'll pass. But the Liberal government has glommed onto this, actually. They're putting a bill through, their fiscal update bill. It's Bill C-59. And what they've put in that bill, they've put in a gag order clause into that bill. And it's under the guise of consumer protection. So anyone that would be making claims about environmental successes would be punished. So they can start with me, because when I was at COP28, I was talking about a net zero oil company that is operating in Saskatchewan. They're taking carbon off not only the coal-fired plant in Estevan, but they need more of it, so they're buying it from the North Dakota gasification plant, bringing it up through a pipeline into the Weyburn-Midale oil field, putting it down, increasing the yield. Net zero oil field company operating, the only one of its kind, not only in Canada and North America, but that I'm aware of around the world, and I'd go to jail for all of that. And so the federal government says, we're going to have someone, you can only say that if it's verified by some international body. And I'm like, who's going to verify that? David Suzuki? It's just, you can't make this stuff up, I'm telling you. But they've been openly, over and over, hostile with the regulations that come forward. And I wasn't even going to rant on the federal government too much, but their policies are unconsulted and they're unrealistic. And the fact is when you see the policies come out from this province, know this, they're responsive. And we are not going to let forces from inside or outside this province attack or tear down. We are going to protect what you and your neighbors and our communities and our industries have built. We're not going to be silenced in telling the story of how Saskatchewan is producing the most sustainable food on earth. We're not going to be silenced in telling the story of we're producing the highest quality at a competitive price food, fuel, and fertilizer that everyone needs. And we're doing so to the tune of about $50 billion a year today to over 163 countries. So there's 163 countries that are looking for food security. There's 163 countries that are looking for energy security, and those 163 countries are looking to Saskatchewan to be part of that supply chain. And when we talk to them, they want to buy more from here, and we are going to do everything we can to attract the investment to make that happen. And so, well, I said it's a minority federal administration that is introducing these policies, but there is another hand in propping that administration up, and that is the NDP. And we've challenged our provincial counterparts many, many times to phone your leader. Tell them of the harmful policies and the harm those policies are creating in the industries that are creating wealth for Saskatchewan families. Well, they're quite complacent with what's happening with their federal partners. They're not just silent with what their leader is doing. They're actually actively supporting what Jagmeet Singh is doing and propping up Justin Trudeau. He attended their conventions, and just recently, the leader of the opposition and a number of their caucus members, they went and participated in the Canadian Labour Congress event. It was labeled, and these are not my words, they're their words, labeled a call to arms. It was nothing more than a campaign school to re-elect Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh, and our provincial NDP attended that campaign school. So I would say this, when you look back through the various premiers that we have had in this province. And let's actually focus in on the NDP premiers that we've had over the last number of years. You won't find me doing this often. Alan Blakeney, Roy Romano, Lauren Calvert. And I'd say this about each of them. I don't know that I agreed with all of their policies, but I would agree that they truly did have the best interests of Saskatchewan people in mind when they put those policies together. And I don't think we can say that about the opposition NDP that we have here today. Today's NDP is far more interested in re-electing Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau than they are in standing up for any of the industries and any of the opportunities that we have in this province. And so I've asked the NDP this question, and I would put it out again this evening. How could you do this? How could you do this to the people of Saskatchewan? Today, what we're seeing is our provincial NDP, that's Justin Trudeau's choice. I certainly am not. And a vote for the NDP in this province is nothing short of a vote to support Justin Trudeau staying in nationally. And a vote for a very, very uncertain future. You contrast that with a vote for the Saskatchewan Party, a vote for certainty, a vote for opportunity, a vote to continue with the investments that are coming into this province, and in turn, the investments that are being made in our classrooms and our healthcare system and our highways and our communities. This is a party of MLAs and candidates today that have only one intention, and that is to put what is best for you first and foremost. We will stand up for Saskatchewan people that live in our communities, that work in our industries, that are creating wealth, the entrepreneurs, the dreamers, really. And we will continue to do everything we can to promote the industry that is employing you so that it can expand and expand in your community. We'll promote it not only around the world, but promote it to our fellow Canadians across this great nation. And I believe it is a nation that is poised to be great once again. And so we go on international trade missions, despite what the opposition would like to see us do. They think that we can build relationships in different ways. We should go down into our basement, turn on our computer, log into a Zoom call, and you can help advocate on behalf of that $50 billion of Saskatchewan goods from your basement. I'd say there's very tangible results that are coming from the trade missions that we have, the 9 international offices that we have. As I said, it's $50 billion worth of product that is being exported to 163 countries by 1.2 million people. In 2007, June, when you formed government, and Dan, that number was 17 billion. That's the growth that we've had in the time that we have had the opportunity to be your government. In a time of very challenged relations in Indo-Canadian relations, you're seeing your Saskatchewan government increase trade with India by 70% last year. Value-added agri-food exports to Vietnam have increased this past year by 227%. The NDP didn't want the government to go to the nuclear conference in Paris or COP28 in Dubai for that matter. Now, as a result of both of those visits, over 30 countries have signed on to an agreement that is going to see the tripling of nuclear power plants globally. Saskatchewan you think about that. They didn't want us to attend a global nuclear power show and to advocate on behalf of Saskatchewan people that may be involved in the uranium and maybe the nuclear industry down the way, where there are 30 countries that are committing to going from 400 global reactors today to over 1,200 global reactors by 2050. You think this might be good for a province that has the largest uranium deposit, or second largest uranium deposit on Earth. The opportunity is there, and we need to be there to support in our companies that are employing people in this province. Companies like Cameco. Cameco not only is operating their mining operations here and in other places of the world, but now they are the owner of one of the largest nuclear service companies in the world, Westinghouse Electric. That means greater surety on the exports for our uranium out of this province. That means more investment into this province. It means more jobs for Saskatchewan people, those that live here today and those that may live here. It's certainty. Certainty of knowing that your government is going to advocate for the industries that are creating wealth and employment in our province. Certainty leads to opportunities, and this is but one. And we talk about big projects in Saskatchewan all the time. I spend a lot of time talking about big mining projects, big oil and gas investments. These are all large investments, and they're significant. Big agri-food investments. They're important to our economy. They create jobs. They create royalties for your government to continue to make these investments into our communities, but they do so much more than that. Directly and indirectly, they have an enormous impact, I would say an enormously positive impact on the small businesses that are in each of our communities across the province. Don't let the word small fool you. Our small businesses collectively are a very mighty machine in the Saskatchewan economy. In fact, our small businesses represent 98.8% of all the businesses in the province. They employ close to 200,000 people across this province. You think about our ag service suppliers, our restaurants, our corner stores, hairstylists, our construction companies, our road builders, retail stores, manufacturing store operations. The list goes on and on and on. And the contributions of these small businesses in each of our communities, in our villages, our towns, our cities, and the rural areas, the impact is immeasurable. It's absolutely immeasurable. Businesses like 306 Construction and Scott Longmire, who's joined us here this evening. In 2005, Scott did what so many people were doing. He moved to Alberta. The opportunity just wasn't here. Over the next few years, he kept coming home to visit with his family and his friends, and he started to see that there's some changes happening in Saskatchewan in a post-2007 environment. He saw a province that was changing under a new government, both in the attitude that people had and the opportunities that he saw might be available. And so in 2009, 6 years later, he started 306 Construction, a company that specializes in industrial and general contracting, custom fabricating, and as well as underground mining. Started with 2 employees. This company now employs over 500 people. They have offices in Manitoba, Alberta, and of course right here in Saskatoon, working on projects from BC right through to Ontario. In 2023, he partnered with Buffalo River Enterprises, a company owned and operated by the Buffalo River Dene Nation. Scott takes great pride in providing opportunities for both Indigenous and female workers, offering leadership positions and employment in what is largely non-traditional roles. So Scott, I want to say thank you for your faith in Saskatchewan. Thank you for your investment in Saskatchewan. And I want to say thank you for coming home. That's but one example of the opportunity that we have in this province, again, through the strength of a growing and vibrant economy. And I think our small businesses across the province, I want to say thank you to each of you for your contributions, not only to the province more properly and broadly, but the contributions to your community. And I know that when people come knocking to upgrade the rink or whatever the project might be, it's you that steps up each and every time. We have a confidence in this province that is rooted in small business and always has been rooted in small business. People that have worked so hard to deliver that confidence on behalf of their community, the people that work with them, and on behalf of the province, again, more broadly. That same certainty that our small businesses, I would say, provide. It did not and it would not exist again under a different government. It's the same old NDP time and time again. They had a chance. They had a chance to grow the economy and invest in classrooms, care, and community. And when they had that chance, they closed schools and they fired the teachers. We were building schools and hiring teachers. They shuttered hospitals in communities across this province and sent the nurses and doctors to Alberta. We're building hospitals, we're building long-term care facilities, we're building urgent care facilities, and we're staffing those facilities through the most ambitious health human resource program in the nation. The NDP neglected our roads. In fact, there's a famous story in Regina. They said that people should, in the community, that you could go out and fill your own potholes in your road. It'd be a great community building exercise. You can't make this stuff up. We, on the other hand, have set a target to improve 10,000 kilometers of road across the province by 2030, and we're ahead of schedule on that target. So again, I will close with this. There is a choice for each of us to make in October. And come election time this time, you're going to see more than just 1 or 2 names on the ballot. But there's only two parties that can ultimately form government in this province, and that's the Saskatchewan Party and potentially the NDP. We've seen what happens before when votes are hived off from either of those parties, but when votes are hived off from our party, the NDP will come up the middle. In fact, that's the political history of this province. The NDP formed government time and time again with 34% of the vote. For far too long in this province, a divided majority was governed by a united minority. That's why this party was formed, was to bring together that divided majority. That is the reason that you have a Saskatchewan Party in the first place, and some of those founding members are in this room. We don't have to look far away or far back for a very real-life example of this, and that is the accidental election of the NDP in Alberta in 2015. In 2015, the Wild Rose Party got 26% of the vote. In 2015, the Conservative Party in Alberta got 25% of the vote, and the NDP got 40%, and they formed a majority government. You compare that to the most recent election in 2023, the Wild Rose and the Conservative Party have merged. They got 52% of the vote, about the same. The NDP actually increased their vote count. Instead of 40, they had 44% of the vote. Virtually the same election results, very different outcome with a very different government in Alberta. So make no mistake, a united minority can govern, and I would say will govern, a divided majority if we allow that to happen. So come October, ask yourself this question. Do we want continued certainty in Saskatchewan? We all know, just like balanced budgets don't balance themselves and economies don't grow themselves from the heart out, it just doesn't happen that way. But it can happen. Growth can happen. You need a government in place that promotes growth, that provides certainty in every aspect of what they do. Certainty that we will continue to invest in classrooms and care and communities. Certainty that will attract investment. Yes, large-scale investment, but also attract small businesses to our community that are hiring our neighbors, hiring our children. Certainty that together we will be able to build a brighter future and always protect those things from those that may come from outside our province or even within our province at times that will attempt to drive uncertainty into our everyday life. So the question is this: do we want to be a place of certainty and growth? And I think we do. Do we want to build on the successes and growth of the last 17 years? And then do we all want to work together vigorously to protect what we have built over that period of time for our communities and most importantly for our children, for that next generation? Because the other choice is to go back to those dark days of decline where people and investment just weren't staying here and were not arriving here. The choice is clear, and I would ask you this tonight as we find our way to an October 28th election. Let's make that choice together. Thank you for coming. God bless our province and God bless Canada.